Hello, I'm Seth Grae, President and CEO of Lightbridge Corporation, LTBR, on the NasDaq Stock Exchange. Please follow along if you can at the investor deck that we sent along by PowerPoint. And if we go to slide 2, I'll direct your attention to our safe harbor statement. And on slide 3, just quickly look at the nuclear power industry with a mention that the two things I'm going to focus on today that are new since we last spoke at RedChip are one, the significant nuclear safety advantages of Lightbridge's innovative nuclear fuel technology to help prevent reactor accidents in the reactors around the world, and two, the significant new independent validation of this technology. We'll also talk a bit about some of the customers that we're talking with. On slide 3, on a quick overview of nuclear power, it's an enormous and growing industry around the world. Even after Fukushima, the current estimates are about $1.5 trillion of new build of reactors around the world between now and 2030. We are facing, though, falling electricity prices here in the U.S. due to cheaper natural gas prices and in other countries. And Lightbridge's nuclear fuel helps keep nuclear power competitive by reducing the costs of nuclear power for the existing reactors as well as the new ones being built. On slide 4, you'll see a photograph of some of Lightbridge's nuclear fuel rods that have been produced recently for tests that are coming up. And this technology will be demonstrated in the largest research reactors in the US and in Russia starting later this year. And on the bottom right, you see a picture that relates to Lightbridge's second business unit, which is advisory services. We're currently bringing in revenue by consulting with governments that are starting nuclear power programs. And this is a picture of a site in Abu Dhabi in the United Arab Emirates, where a reactor is being built on time, on budget, and Lightbridge wrote the plan for this nuclear power program in the UAE. And we use the revenue from our consulting business to fund our nuclear fuel development. And the nuclear fuel will be licensed into the industry. We own the intellectual property, and that will bring the greatest returns for our shareholders. On slide 5, you could see some of the relative costs of different ways of generating electricity in the United States. Nuclear power is pretty competitive with gas and coal, a bit more expensive now in most cases, but not much than either of those, but much cheaper than wind or solar. If you use Lightbridge's fuel to increase the power output of a reactor, which is one of the benefits of our fuel, that increased electricity will be the cheapest electricity on the grid in the country. And that yellow bar shows that by operating existing reactors is the cheapest way to add new major electricity supply to existing electric grids. Slide 6 goes through some of the advantages of Lightbridge's technology, including the power output. But slide 7 gets to one of the two main areas I want to talk about today, which are increased safety benefits, which we'll focus on a bit more in the next slide too. But on this slide shows that Lightbridge's fuel, even with the power uprate given to reactors, runs about 1,000 degrees Celsius cooler in a reactor than the current fuels. Lightbridge's fuel, in addition to improving the economics and power output of reactors, has significant safety advantages, many of which stem from running so much cooler in the core of a reactor. Now, just to drill down to one of these advantages that's very important, and we've only started talking about very recently, is on slide 8, what's called large break loca. For people who run nuclear power plants, the worst thing that they ever want to hear within what's called design basis accidents is LOCA, loss of coolant accident. These reactors around the world, the big reactors you hear about, are what are called light water reactors, and water is the coolant in the cores. And if you lose the water, if you lose the coolant, and you start exposing these fuel rods, as the water levels are falling, they heat up tremendously, they can start melting, and when they get over 900 degrees Celsius, they start having interaction between that very hot steam and the metal on the fuel rods called zirconium, and that causes hydrogen gas to build up, which can explode. which is what almost happened at 3 Mile Island, where large amounts of hydrogen gas were building up. Unfortunately, they were able to prevent an explosion, but they came fairly close, actually. And it's what did explode in 3 of the units at Fukushima, destroying the buildings that house those reactors. Lightbridge's fuel in these large break loca incidents, in these same kinds of reactors, in these reactors used around the world today or new ones that will be built, in no instance will get above 550 or maybe 600 degrees Celsius. It will not get hot enough to produce that hydrogen that explodes in reactors. And this is a significant safety advantage of Lightbridge's fuel. Now, what's very important is independent validation and working with customers that are interested in these benefits. And we'll go through the schedule on slide 11. But if we get to slide 12, it's the second area I want to focus on today, which is independent validation over the next few slides. Nuclear technology is published by the American Nuclear Society. It is the most prestigious, most credible nuclear technology journal in the world that is independently peer-reviewed. And they took a year to do independent peer review of Lightbridge's technology. And in their December 2012 issue, they published that peer review validating the technology. And as you can see on this slide in the last bullet, including the safety benefits through the lower temperatures. On slide 13, Siemens, a major credible multinational corporation through its wholly owned US subsidiary called Pace Global, issued a report also in December 2012 validating the economics of Lightbridge's fuel, from the power up rates, from having what's called longer fuel cycles that our fuels allow, so reactors are running more days per year, selling electricity more days per year, with more electricity being sold each day. And Siemens, in this report that's available on our website, validated these economics, which feed into the economic projections that you see in this presentation. On slide 14 is more recent. In March 2013, Siemens issued another report that's also on our website. And this is very interesting, validating proliferation resistance of Lightbridge's nuclear fuel technology. In addition to the other benefits, our fuel makes it much more difficult, if not almost impossible, to use spent fuel from reactors to make a bomb. This is a tremendous nuclear non-proliferation advantage of Lightbridge's fuel, in addition to the significant safety and economic advantages. Now, all this leads to working with customers. Lightbridge will license this fuel to the companies that make fuel for reactors, that will sell it to the utilities. So to pull this through the supply chain, it's very important to see what the utilities think of this. And 4 of the largest nuclear utilities, which include Exelon, Dominion, Duke, and Southern Company, which collectively generate almost half the nuclear electricity in the United States. Exelon and Duke are the 2 largest nuclear utilities in the United States. Their head fuel managers of these 4 utilities comprise Lightbridge's Nuclear Utility Fuel Advisory Board, and they are working with us to help finalize the development and commercialization of this nuclear fuel technology, bringing the voice of the customer directly into Lightbridge. And we're really focusing with them on these safety advantages now and this independent validation. The technology development is going extremely well. On slide 15 and 16 and following, it's a bit on the push and pull strategy, working with utilities, working with nuclear fuel fabricators, and going on to the next slide. So the advisory services we provide that are currently bringing in revenue that are funding the nuclear fuel development, and we're expecting to be able to announce in these next couple months some significant new clients for Lightbridge in the advisory services area. I'll just end now by talking about slide 22, which is where we started earlier in the presentation. The Lightbridge has 2 divisions. We fabricate fuel for nuclear reactors, and we advise countries developing nuclear power plants. Today, I wanted to focus on the significant safety advantages to prevent accidents in reactors that our innovative technology brings, and tell you a bit about the advisory services that help us pay for that fuel development. Please contact us at ir@ltbridge.com or call us at 571-730-1234. That information is also on later slides in the deck, and we'll look forward to following up with you again in the future. Thank you very much.